Hello and welcome to High Vibe Time with Teresa and Ashley. What was it? Unfiltered? What do we call it?
Raw and
Raw and
unfiltered.
unfiltered, raw and unfiltered. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. And I hope you enjoy our content. We're going to talk about just how we got to start this YouTube and grow our businesses, just a little bit about our story and our path to get where we're going and where we are right now. So Teresa, do you want to start?
Sure, I will. I have always been fascinated by mediumship and talking to the other side. Before I got into it myself, I would go see mediums, John Edwards. I saw Teresa Caputo. Um, uh, there's one other one that I saw in person. I can't think of his name right now. Excuse me. But I've always just been fascinated by it. And so um, I think that I think that things come in time exactly when we want them to come. And so it was about 3 years, 3.5 years ago that I started developing or started building that muscle of being able to communicate with the other side and being able to tap into that universal knowledge and that we can get, that I don't know. It was just a path that I was just excited to be on, and it's just opened up so many doors along the way. Um, and I absolutely love it. It surprises me almost every single day, which is just amazing. And it's I love it. I love being able to take ourselves from this physical world into a totally different world and be in that setting as well. So it's fascinating to me. So
So why
the
does
more
it
fascinating is,
still surprise you?
oh my goodness, because it's shocking, for me to get a message and to hear the other person say, how would you know that? There's no way that you would know that, or there's no, I mean, that just blows me away. Or to pull a card that, just will instantly make the person cry because it's been something they needed to hear, or, it just is, it's surprising to me because it's magical, I mean, there's no other word to it. And then on top of that, it's like, I'm doing this? Wait a minute, what?
Now, did you know at a young age you could do this, or is this something that came about as you got older?
I believe that I did know at a younger age, and I think that conditioning and the way I was raised, I was taught. I mean, even my dad, till the day he passed, didn't believe that you could. And every time I would go see someone, he would say, "Well, ask him this question or ask him this question." He'd always try to trip him up. Well, if they don't know that, then, But the first thing he said to me when he got to the other side was, "Well, I guess she wasn't full of shit after all, Teresa." So yeah, I think I had it when I was younger, but it was kind of shut down. And then I had something happen to me in my lifetime that kind of really made me doubt that inner knowledge because I missed something. I missed something that was in front of my face. And so I'm like, well, if I can miss something that's in front of my face, how can I miss something that I can't even, I'm sure I'm missing things I can't. So I really shut it down then. And it's been a process of opening it back up, and allowing, because I believe we all have the ability. And so, it's been a process of opening that back up and trusting it. That's the hugest one.
Very huge.
Trusting what you get. And
Yeah.
so it was learning to trust that again when I felt like I wasn't able to trust it at one time. So that, yeah, it was a process, but I love being in the space that I'm in now.
Yeah. And one thing we'll do that we hope to do with this um, channel is for those of us because I grew up in, so it wasn't called what it's called now, and I'll get to that in a second, but I was so disconnected from it for such a long time because I was in an academic world, and it was, that's too woo woo, it's too out there, it can't possibly be because of XYZ. And So part of what Teresa and I are trying to do with this channel is that for those of us who are starting out on our journey thinking, well, that's interesting. Well, that maybe that was just coincidence, or did that really happen? Did I really just say, hey, to my grandmother and a bird appeared? Like, what is this all about? And how can we explore that more and open up our own abilities? Because I agree with you that I think that everybody has them. It's just a matter of, are you open to it, and are you willing to trust it and see what's out there to explore?
Absolutely. Yeah. And not only that, I think that a lot of people right now are starting to, crack that, kind of pull apart those inbred thinking type of feelings and looking at this. And that's what I'm hopeful with, is that, that this will help someone who's feeling a certain way or doing a certain thing and think it might be crazy, and they're not really crazy. And so instead of running away from it, hopefully this will help people run into it, because a lot of people are awakening now, and you hear that a lot, and it's kind of overused, I think, but
Mhm.
it's so very, very true. There's a lot of people that are tuning into this again. And so, the more people that we can help kind of guide that in that direction, I think it benefits us all.
And I love that you said tuning into it again, because um, if you look back into as short of a history as Native American, I mean, obviously we still have Native Americans in this world, but way back when, I mean, and I'm sure they still do, but they planted by the sun, they harvested by the sun, they believed in moon energy, they believed in herbs and oils, and there's a lot of cultures that still do. That was just the one on top of my head because I have a Native American history in my bloodline. And so like I think that it's the pendulum, right? The pendulum goes all the way over here where we don't believe in something, then all of a sudden it starts to
Mhm.
swing back, and incorporating all that, and natural healing, and getting outside and being in nature, and all the things that have to do with that. And so I think you're right. I think people are being more open and questioning, not in a bad way, not in a
Mhm.
just as an inquisitive way. Is there something else? Is there a different way to do this, or is there a different belief, or that kind of thing as well?
And I love the pendulum thing because it's so true. It's like coming back and kind of just swinging back to kind of opening up everyone to a new way of thinking.
Mhm.
And yeah, I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
Mm. So what about you? What got you into this?
Well, like I mentioned, my heritage, my background is Native American, and my grandmother was raised by a grandmother who was 100% Native American. And when I was growing up with my grandmother, it was not, it was typical that she would have a calendar up of the moon, of when the moons were, the new moon, the full moon, the blah, blah, blah. And again, like I said, harvest, plant, don't cut, do cut. Hair was a big one. Don't cut it on this day because it won't grow, or do cut it on this day because it will grow, like all kinds of things.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She gardened and believed in like holistic things first. I have a book of hers when she passed, I got about herbs and oils and how to heal your body using those things. And so, we we had a spirit in her. She had a spirit in her house that it was just normal, like we would hear. And we, as a kid, she called him a ghost. There was a name, Dan the Ghost. And I think it was just to, not scare me, but it was just like, you know, pass the butter. Like it was no, oh,
Mhm.
there's Dan the Ghost again. He's slamming the door. Like it was just normal,
Normal.
right? And
Yeah.
so I was never afraid of it. I never questioned it because, hey, my grandmother said, is Dan the Ghost? Okay, he's safe, like, whatever. Um, and she and I had a huge connection. And So back in when she passed, I knew it. I felt it at my core the moment that she passed. I was driving, trying to get to her. And I knew it. I knew it at my core. And we've just had we just had a connection, right? And at that point, I was finishing my graduate school and getting into my career. And I really, although I did meditate in my own way, I didn't know anything about it, but I was just sort of doing it my own way. And I did yoga, and, nature was healing for me emotionally. I knew all that, but I didn't have words to put with it. And I was starting my career. So I just sort of pushed all that aside, started my career, finished my degrees. And then I continued down the yoga path and started getting into more yoga and that philosophy and learning more about energy and healing. And then my dad got sick, and my uncle, who I did not know this until my dad got sick, saw angels. And he was so worried to tell me that when he saw angels, and I was like, that's the coolest thing ever. What do you, and like, I didn't want to be cool because you saw the angel of, standing over my dad because he was about to pass. But like, on the flip side, I was like, why did I not know this? And so I started, learning about guardian angels and spirit animals and all these things. And and it was almost like I had split personalities, because I would go to work in academia during the day and I had to be this whatever. And then nights and weekends, I was like reading about all this woo woo stuff. And so, my brain was spinning. But I had written in a journal when dad was sick that I wanted to be a coach. I wanted to be a life coach. And I didn't know what that meant. I had written it down. I had coached students my entire life, in life. And so one thing led to another. I got a certification. The life coach title did not set well with me. So I am a transformation coach. I help women with transformations. And in all of that, I have grown with my learning about energy, learning about my spiritual team, learning about how to communicate. I'm not as good at it as you are at the other side, but I do communicate with folks on the other side. People do come through to me, and I'm more okay with, now I can understand my academic side. That's true. Cool. You believe that? That's great. Or you don't believe that? That's cool. But these are my experience. These are my own lived experiences. When I talk to my grandmother, the one that I had such a connection with, she comes to me, I mean, strong, right? And I talk to her all the time. That's my lived experience. And so I can't deny that. I'm not going to deny that. Call it what you want. People want to call it crazy. People want to call it sacrilegious. People want to call it, that's cool. That's cool. That's you. But this is my own lived experience. And so that's just sort of, and it's grown a lot, and I'm still growing. I think we always should continue to grow and grow
Absolutely.
our abilities and accept our abilities and all
Hmm.
that. So.
That's fascinating. I didn't know that about your grandpa, that, and yeah, for to know that it's kind of, you had it on your grandma and your grandpa. Um, so you have that history of it, and kind of, to where it's almost opposite of what I had. I had my parents, thinking, that's just crazy. That's just crazy. Where you had it almost nurturing it, which
Mhm.
is really cool.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. I was going to ask you something else now. I forgot. Hmm.
And I will say, um, I never talked to my dad about this because it was, before this big chunk of my journey started. So I don't know what he would have thought. But now that I've spoken to him while he's on the other side, he loves it. He thinks, he chuckles about it. And this is why I know that he knows now that it's for real too, because they say that babies and those who are about to pass, the veil between the two realms, worlds, whatever you want to call it, are so thin that, when you see a baby just, chatting away with someone in the room, it may be a spirit that's looking over them, right? And I witnessed that firsthand with my dad when he was literally on his deathbed. He had not eaten, had not spoken for days, and we were all in the house, and we were at the dining room table, and he wanted to pass at the house, and so that's what we made happen. And we were all sitting around the dining room table, and all of a sudden we hear him laughing, and we're like, what the hell? Like, he hasn't, what is happening? And the nurse that was there was like, I don't know, let's go check. And so she and I went and checked, and he had moved his head, and he was looking at the corner of the room, and it was just hee haw laughing. And my husband said, he goes, he's talking to his two best friends who had already crossed over. And those
Mm,
three were like,
yes.
the three stooges, and they caused all kinds of havoc in our small town, fun stuff. But, they were pranksters. And so like he's talking to them, they're talking to him. That veil is, so thin, and he's just, and it was just momentarily. It wasn't a long period of time. It was just momentarily long enough to be like, huh, yeah. And it was the day after my uncle had told me that he saw the angel above dad, and he had seen that over several people, and the next few days they had passed. So like, yeah. And so that really started my journey.
Yeah, it does because I mean, even as you're saying the story, I'm getting chills all over my body. I mean, to me, why wouldn't someone want to know more or dig more into that? That's just fascinating. And, to really be able to, people ask me, or they don't really ask me, but I've had people come at me with how come I didn't mourn the way they thought I should mourn with my dad.
Mhm.
And it's because I talk to him whenever I want to. Do I miss that physical touch? Absolutely. But I can talk to him whenever I want to. I mean, I don't, he's there and I know it. And even when I get a little melancholy, he comes into my head and, will cheer me up about it, And so that's why, I mean, I know grief is all different, but I, I don't feel that real hard separation from him because this is there. And man, I wouldn't it be just an amazing space if everyone was actually able to do that and know, there's so many people that grief just takes them down, and so hopefully that this is part of what will help with us doing this is allowing people to know that this is a normal thing, that we can hear and see. Some people see, I hear and feel the energy. I think you see sometimes, don't you?
Very little, very little. I'm a sensor, and I hear, and I actually smell. I'll tell
Mhm.
that story eventually one day, but I smell people who have crossed over. So that's another way to do it. And yeah,
Mm,
so yeah,
yeah.
and that's a good point. So we have a list of topics that you and I have talked about that we would like to share on here. And I don't have it pulled up, but but as I'm pulling it up, can you remember some of the topics that were on it, just so people will sort of get to an idea of
We're
where
going to
we're
talk
headed and
about
what we're doing?
different energies and how you feel your energy compared to maybe somebody else's energy. We're going to talk about chakras.
Mm.
We're going to talk about how you connect with your team or maybe get to know your team,
Yes.
um, feeling into that intuition or that knowing and kind of trusting in that.
Mhm.
Um,
See what else
the
here.
find knowing whether or not something is just something that's happening in your life or if it's an actual lesson that you're supposed to, really look at and figure out. Yeah, that's some of them. Do you got it pulled
Oh
up?
yeah, I have it pulled up now. So like, yeah, you and I both use different types of cards, angel
Oh, yeah.
cards, oracle cards, etc. And I know there's a huge stigma around that. There's stigma around all of this. Like, I grew up in the
Um,
South, the deep South. And so I have heard I have heard from the naysayers and that all kinds of stuff. And again, thank you for your 2 cents, and I appreciate that. You're looking out for me. However, this is my lived experience, and so but cards, we're talking about, I think you said types of energy healing, sound healing. We're talking about the phases of the moon, crystals.
Mhm.
I love my crystals. And so things like that. So things that we have learned, our intuition, meditation, we may touch on journaling, things that have helped us not only heal, but sort of do the other stuff that is not, it's not tangible. I mean, I can't reach out and grab some of this stuff. When I say I hear it, I truly hear it. I can't grab it. It's what I hear and that's what I feel. So that was hard for me because I need proof kind of gal. But when things happen so many times and it's proven so many times, at some point
You have to
I
believe
have to believe.
that you can't just make this shit up.
That's right. Every time I would say I wouldn't say 100, but 99.9% of the time when I pull a card, I'm like, what does this have to do with what we're going to talk about today in my session or in group sessions? Or what does it have to do with the person I'm pulling this card for? And like, oh my gosh, that is it. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, I don't know why I even remotely question it anymore.
I know. That's so true. Yep.
But I hope that you got to know us a little bit today, you guys, and subscribe, like, do the things so you get notifications that we have a new episode. We're going to attempt to do one a week. We're both busy people doing lots of different things, not only with our business, but also with life. And so, but our goal is once a week. And yeah, like us, we both have our own business. Teresa, do you want to talk about yours real quick before we get off here?
Mine is Transform with Teresa. I'm a transformation coach, and I work with people, women specifically, that are kind of like on a roller coaster of that weight loss.
Mm.
Uh, because through healing inside, I was able to lose 100 pounds on the outside. So, healing those emotions and learning how to deal with those emotions really affect your eating patterns. And so, I have the free Facebook group Transform with Teresa, and then I also have a Monday night group, Embrace the Emotions, Release the Weight, which is just wonderful. And so, those are the two things and then I do one-on-one coaching. So,
And we'll
yeah.
put the links to both of our Facebook groups and our websites down in the description. So feel free to check those out. My business is Balance Worthy because I also do yoga. I teach yoga for all bodies. I'm a yoga for all instructor and also a coach. And I do group sessions on Thursday nights and maybe expanding out to Mondays. We'll see how my wonderful folks in the UK respond to my stuff that's coming up. And yeah, and so I work with women who have just not felt enough. Just whether that's, if you say to yourself, I'm not good enough, I'm not thin enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not whatever enough, those are the folks that I work with. Specifically, I wouldn't say majority, but a lot of my clients have body image issues. And so I work with them on body image, but mainly their confidence. Let's bring that confidence back up. I have a lot of professional women who are wanting to go up for a promotion and don't feel confident to ask for that promotion or to send that resume. So I work with those as well. So, but we will put our links in the bottom and you are welcome to go check that out.
Yeah.
So I
And
hope
I'm
you
sure
all,
you'll
oh,
learn
sorry.
a lot more about us.
Yes, yes, you will. All right, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful day and week, and we will see you soon.
Bye.